Good morning to the JKIR crew. Welcome to the first episode of the Just Keep It Real podcast. I am your host, Makayla. So today, I know yesterday, episode 1 was supposed to come out, but it was a lot of things going on at the time, so I wasn't able to record and to publish out our first episode. But today, everything has settled down. Now we're going to go ahead and give you guys this first episode. The topic is for the episode is Know Your Worth. Throughout this segment of Keep It Real Makayla, I just really want others to be encouraged. To let everybody know that, hey, we all have our own stories, but everybody's story is important. It makes us stronger. It makes us be powerful. It makes us be able to show other people that just you went through it, I'm going through it. Hey, let's help each other out. And that person can tell that other person. And we can all just end up encouraging and empowering one another to understand that what we're going through is only for a season. But there's a season where it's going to come where we're going to be able to be strong and be able to just go out and tell other girls, other young ladies around that's younger than us what we experienced to help them tell somebody else that their age. But we're not going to pull all the time. Let's go ahead and get straight into the topic. So the first thing we're going to talk about, our point, is be comfortable who you are. Now, being comfortable who you are could be look different for everybody else. And one thing, I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to post it down in the comments below to give you guys an opportunity to respond back to the question and to share what looking comfortable is like for you. For me, being comfortable in your own person is your understanding who you are. You don't have to try to be someone else or to try to portray a certain image for others to accept you or for others to understand you. You don't have to do that. Being comfortable looks for me example, and this is a true thing because we're keeping it real on the show. Me being comfortable in who I am is I know who I am. Like, I know, like, okay, I don't have to shrink down myself. I don't have to bring myself down. I don't have to change my personality, or should I filter myself a little bit? I am who I am. And if you can't accept that, then you don't need to be in my circle. Now, looking comfortable could be different from other people. But I'm also going to give you guys some pointers and some keys that can help you understand the steps you can take to actually try to get to know yourself so you can be comfortable in yourself. So the first point I want to tell you guys about is stop accepting less. So don't accept something that is less than your worth. That could go with friends, men, clubs, organizations, anything that makes you feel less than who you are. Do not accept it. Don't compromise with it. Just leave it alone. Because when you really think about it, back to me again, I was in a very toxic environment. And I'm not going to lie, I wasn't comfortable who I was because I felt like I had to be like them for them to accept me. And that didn't do nothing but damage me. That didn't do nothing but make me feel some type of way, because you're going to keep trying to change yourself this way, change yourself that way to fit in. Where the reality of it is that they're always going to find something else wrong with you. They're always going to try to find something to point out that you're not doing this right, that this person has, that you're going to try to change yourself so they can see it. And when you change yourself for them to see it, then they're going to back, oh, well, nah, I don't like that. It's not going to benefit you. So when it comes down to accepting less, don't accept it. If they can't meet you where you are, if they can't accept you for where you're at, then you don't need to be around them. It's simple. You don't have to be around them. You don't have to let them continue to take away from you, to make you shrink yourself. You don't have to allow them to do that to you. So when it comes down to us as women, we're told that we need to settle for whatever we get. Like a parent say, well, you get what you get, you don't throw a fit. This doesn't apply to us, because when men don't understand us as women, we come as a total package. Some of us, we have amazing qualities as women. Some things that we can do for a man that could just blow blow them out of this world, how loyal we can be, how dependable we are, how trustworthy we are. And one thing we do, some women, well, for me, I love wholeheartedly. Like, I love hard. Some women love hard. Some women give their all into a relationship. And some men, they see that and they take it and they use it against us. So we're told to just to take it. Oh, as long as he's doing this, then it shouldn't matter. So for women, we don't need to settle for less, because at the end of the day, there's a man out there, there's a group of individuals out there that can meet us where we are and love us, accept us for where we are, and help us grow. Some people come in our lives to take and to just keep taking from us. They never put it back into us. And that, for women, is a repeating cycle. We give and we give and we give and we give. And what we're giving, we're not receiving it back fully. We're only getting a portion of what we really need, which makes us having to carry an extra weight that women should not be able to carry. When it comes down to being comfortable who you are, you cannot settle. You have to be comfortable to know that, you know what, you're just not what I need right now. You're a cool individual, but I cannot settle for this, because I know I deserve better than this. I know that there's somebody out there that deserves me. You don't deserve me right now. Where I'm at in my life, you're not going to be able to give me what I need. And that's something, when it comes down to being comfortable, you just cannot settle. Don't settle for less. So when it comes down to society, you don't want them to keep giving you less, because society will do that. This generation that we live in, I just think about, like, wow, like, some of the things I see in this generation really bothers me, because for the simple fact, I come across so many women, so many people that I've encountered in my life, where they've told me, we share stories before, and I'm going to share one of my stories, is that, I was in a situation where, I was telling the individual that, I was settling for less. I was settling because, I felt like this was the person. And it took one real person to tell me that this is not who you are. This is not who God wants you to be with. And it hurts to walk away from something like that, and you don't want to hear it. You throw it all away. You think, like, oh, they don't understand what I'm going through. They don't understand. But in reality, they do. When somebody else can come and see the potential in you and push you and tell you that, hey, you're settling. You're just letting it go. You're not trying to go further. You're just stuck. You're just comfortable here. That is a real friend that you want to keep with you, because they are the ones that are going to tell you the truth no matter what. They're going to sit there and tell you and let you know that, hey, you are settling. And we do not settle over here. Hashtag, we're not settling. Y'all got to put that in the comments. Hashtag, no settle. No settling. One thing about it is, with being comfortable who you are, you got to know who you are. And I want to leave you guys with a Bible verse to read a scripture to you guys. Psalms 139:14. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. We're fearfully and wonderfully made in Christ. God has made us in a beautiful image. The way we are made, no man, no friends, no society should be able to come and tell us who we are. We should be able to go tell them who we are, not them for us to tell us. Because their viewpoint of us is not how God sees us. They're going to tell us what they think we should be, or how we should accept things, or how we should live our lives. But their opinion doesn't matter to us. Their opinion of how they see women, of how we live, and how we're supposed to be, and how they see how the industry women are, and how we're supposed to match up with the industry women, that is not how God sees us. That is not how he sees us, nor is how he created us. So we're not going to accept society or men's opinions about us. What we're going to do, we're going to try to get more comfortable with ourselves. Number one, we're not going to settle. Hashtag no settling. Hashtag keep it real. We're going to move forward. And we're also going to keep quoting that I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Fearfully. When you fearfully made, that is a beautiful thing to do. And I'm going to read you guys the definition of fearfully. When you're fearfully, wonderfully made, the care and attention that God gave you when he made you, he created every little thing so special about you. He took his time making you. So when you think about it, the time, let's get real with it. We all, when you take your time and you make something, like when you're cooking, how you season your meat and you season everything, you're getting everything together, how you take your time, you want it to taste somewhere because you have an expected outcome. When you think about the time you put into that, from prepping it, to cooking it, to seasoning it, to tasting it, to going back and making sure you did every step right, that's how God made us. He took his time in each individual thing he made, from our hair to our eyes, to our nose, to our mouth, to the way our personality would be, to how our form would be. He took his time making us, and he pays a lot of attention when he made us. So when you know that and you get in contact with that and you start to realize that being comfortable in who you are is going to be easy, because you're going to know within yourself who you are. So we're going to move on to our point 2. Point 2, elevate your mind. Let's talk about it. Let's get real. The mind is the biggest thing for me, because when you think about a mind, so much goes into our minds that can just make us look at life completely different. The first thing you see, you're going to be like, well, what do I think about that? And how do I feel about that? And you're going to go off your thinking and how you feel. But let's talk about how we can elevate our minds into a positive way for us to know ourselves better, for us to know our worth more. Let's talk about it. My first thing, and I say this so strongly, don't let other people's opinions become your opinion about yourself. This goes into being comfortable who you are. What I mean by that, because I've let other people's opinions become my opinion on myself. We're keeping it real over here. This the Real One TV, hashtag Real One TV. With myself, I have let other people's opinions become my opinion of myself, especially men, if we're going to get real about it. I just felt like, why it's, and especially when you see somebody go after somebody and you're trying everything you can to change yourself so they can see you the way they see that other person, but reality is not worth it. It's not worth it. And I've taken other people's opinions they've said about me, like from my personality to how I look and how I act and how I am. I've taken that and I took it to heart, and I started actually actively trying to change myself for them to see me in a different way. But reality, I wasn't accepting who I was, who God created me to be. I had some flaws, and who doesn't have flaws? We're human, but we're striving for perfection. But I took those things and I started to think about them. I meditated on them day and night, of how I can change myself so they won't see me that way. But the damage it did to me, I never thought it would be that hard, because now you're taking and then, not to mention social media, you seeing women, how they live and how they got their stuff all, they ducks and roll. At the age of 23, you're supposed to have your whole life figured out. You're supposed to be on a yacht, selling cars, doing all types of stuff. But reality, that's not how life works. Yes, there's women that are successful who have been working hard since the age of 15. There's a plenty of women that are hardworking women, plenty of young women, entrepreneurs that's having businesses and owning and doing it. There's plenty of women that's doing that. Yes, and we're going to applaud them and salute them for everything that they do, because it takes time and it takes hard work to go after your dreams. But when it comes down to letting other people's opinions become your opinion about yourself, is a damaging thing. For me, it made me be more insecure about myself. I was always trying to do something, either going from wearing lashes more, wearing more makeup, getting my hair done every time, trying to keep my nails done, trying to keep up with the people who was still saying these stuff about me, still on a daily basis. So you're trying to keep up, and then it goes into changing your wardrobe, changing your whole self just for them, just trying to please them. That was my problem. And it's something I thank God that I got through, and I'm able to just be who I am and being comfortable and elevating my mind. But don't let other people's opinions become your opinion, because everybody's going to have opinion about you, about how your life should look, about who you should be and everything, and how you should treat others, and how you should act, and how you should be around this group of individuals, and how you're supposed to be this woman. Everybody has their opinion about who you are. They're always going to have an opinion. Everybody's always going to find something wrong with you. But if it's not coming from godly counsel, if it's not coming from God himself, why should you listen to somebody's negative opinions about you? Because they don't know you. They don't know the real you. For me, it took time to really understand that, hey, I'm just a goofy, blunt person. Yes, I'm goofy. Yes, I like to laugh for no reason. Like, that's just me. And I keep it real. I let people know, hey, this how I am. This how I roll. And there's some people that I've met in my life, that's still in my life, that understands me and accepts me. That's like, hey, that's her. And you know, one thing about it is when you stop letting other opinions become your opinion about yourself, and you start being confident, some people see that and they can respect that. They're like, you know what? I've told this girl about herself, and I can see that she knows who she is, and they gonna stop messing with you in that way. Not saying they ain't gonna try to come with another strategy, but at least they know who you. They know you're solid, you're confident, that their opinions don't shake you. It's just an opinion. Let it go in the ear and out through the other ear. But when it comes down to it, the only opinion that matters about you is God and yourself. What do you think about yourself? Do you feel like you? For me, somebody used to tell me that, oh, I am too harsh, I'm too mean, I'm too strict. And when I took that, I'm just like, I'm not a mean person, I'm a nice person. And then you try, there I go, start trying to please other people. But in reality, there's some things God told me about myself that I realized. I'm like, okay, I can see the point. But when it came down to some of the stuff people were coming after my character, saying how I was just malicious and everything, I'm like, God, you know that's not me. And that's something God was dealing with me with. Like, he was just like taking me through a season of quietness, taking me through a season of just me and him, me talking to him talking to me being in his word, where he began to show me who I was. And by then him showing to me, it just started to realize me what type of character I had. So other people's opinions didn't matter to me after God had already assured me who I was. Letting me know that, hey, you're not malicious. But I do have a blunt personality. Because I feel like, why do I have to lie to you? Because I wouldn't be a real person if I would have to lie to you. We're talking about me at this point. I'm not going to lie to anybody. Because I wouldn't want somebody to lie to me. I wouldn't want you to see me making a mistake and you know it's damaging my it's damaging my character, it's damaging my personality. It's not going to help. It's not going to prosper me. It's going to make me shrink, actually. Tell me the truth. The brutally honest truth. You pull me to the side, you can tell it to my face. But at the end of the day, I'm going to accept that because I understand where you're coming from. Because I would do the same thing for another individual. But when we get back to our points, the only opinions that's going to matter is God's and yourselves. That's the only opinion that should matter. God's opinion is the most important opinion. Because God created you. So how he thinks of you is going to be above your opinion of yourself. Actually, how God thinks of you is going to be your opinion about yourself. We're going to connect the two. Because God created us after his own image. So we have characteristics like him. So how he thinks of us is how we need to think of us. Because we can see ourselves. Let's get back to me. We keeping it real over here. Before I stopped letting others' opinions become my opinion about myself, and I was constantly playing dress up, trying to please others and get others to accept me, and not being comfortable in who I was, that part was very damaging. But then, like I explained earlier, God has a way of showing you who you are and telling you who you are. But that looks different from other people. Another question I want to ask. What are some things that God has told you about yourself? Do you believe it or do you still not believe it? That's a question I'm going to post down in the comments. And you guys are more than welcome to respond back to them. But me as a person, I never realized God's opinion about me. When I was playing dress up, I'm saying it dress up like as because switching out personalities, switching out, trying different traits. You playing dress up. Let's be real about it. When I was playing dress up, I just didn't understand what God saw about me, his opinion about me. I never understood it for a while. And this time people came about me and told me, like, wow, like, you still letting this happen? And I'm just like, yeah. And, it's not until God himself came and gave me that light bulb and letting me know who I really was. And it's not till then that I really started to think about all the things I let happen to me. How I let others mistreat me. How I let others say this about me. And how I fell for it. And how, we could see ourselves as this image as, oh man, I'm this, I'm that. I don't feel this, I don't feel that. Let's talk about the characters. It was times where I said I wasn't pretty enough, I wasn't worth enough, I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't girly enough, it just went to the whole characteristics, how I thought about I looked. But in Christ saw me as this beautiful, fearfully and wonderfully made woman that he created. He made me after his image. I am his good thing. He saw through my flaws. He saw the person that I was. And that is another way you can think of your mind. That's why I'm telling people I come across that God's opinion matters. Because when you see yourself the way God sees you, it doesn't matter what society or what other people got to say. That's just a beautiful thing that happened to me. When I realized how God saw me, my whole outlook of life changed. My whole mindset changed. I stopped worrying about clothes and shoes and style and hair and makeup and lashes and trying to fit in and changing my personality, changing my goofiness, changing my smile, changing everything pretty much about me because I wanted to fit in. But when God showed me how he saw me and how he thinks of me, I stopped. It's easier said than done. It took time for this to happen. Don't think this is a overnight process. Oh no, we're keeping it real. It took me a while to get to where I am, and every day was a different struggle for me. But one thing, I'm glad that it happened, and it can happen for you too. The next point I want for us to talk about is when it comes to elevating your mind. For us as people, as women in general, we have to realize our mind is the devil's playground. That's where he likes to go, because when he get in that mind, he got everything else, because you're going to go off your mind. But one thing I want to tell you guys about is stop letting negative things enter your mind, such as opinions, judgments, society expectations, and bad advice. When it comes down to the scripture I want to let you guys read to you guys is Romans 12:2. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is good and acceptable and perfect will of God. So when I take from that, Romans 12:2 to me means that I can't let my mind think the things of the world. So that's what I'm saying. The world has negative viewpoints. So certain things that I let in my mind from the world that helped me, that helped my mindset stay where it was at, was women, looking how industry women are and how they live and looking at their body structure. That made me want to look that way. Number 2, bad advice from others that were really not supporting me, really much tearing me down, undercoverly, quote unquote, giving me advice. Society expectations. So I used to think like I used to have my whole life needed to be planned and mapped out, and at this point in my life I should be here and I should be there. When me, I was not understanding that God had a plan and a purpose for my life before I was even born. But I started letting society's expectations become my expectations of myself. But when I think about all those things, I let my mind was like of the world. But clearly in Romans 12:2, he's saying, be not transformed, be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You have to you have to change your mindset. You need to renew your mind, elevate your mind into a different way to think of the things that prove good and to be acceptable in the perfect will of God. You're doing this unto God. So when I live my life, I'm doing things that somebody can walk and see me and know that she's a child of God. To see me and know that, oh yeah, she's different. That's how I live my life. What are some things that you have experienced that has some things that you let in your mind that have changed your mind, that has made you think in different ways? That's another question I'm going to pose in the comments. We're going to get to our third point, which is, now that we understand for us to be comfortable in who we are, another thing we have to know is we have to elevate our mind. We have to change our way of thinking. We have to change our way of seeing things. Let's get into our third point, which is speak things into existence. Now that you know who you are, you're comfortable, you've changed your mind. Now let's talk about how we can speak some positive things about us into existence. Not things about us, but just speaking things over us into existence. Let's talk about it. So I want to tell you guys an acronym of DREAM. DREAM, D, dedication. R, realization. E, excuses. A, action. And M, motivation. Let's get straight in with D. D, determination. Be consistent in whatever dream you have. Be consistent in finding out who you are. Be consistent and being focused. Don't let nothing stop you from achieving greatness. Don't let nobody stop you from achieving and you reaching the full potential of you knowing who you are. Don't let nobody stop you in that. Be determined to find out who you are. When you're determined, you're going to put in hard, like I said, people say hard working man hours. Well, we're going to put some hard working hours into for us to find out who we are. Be determined to figure out, you know what? I need to find out who I am. I need to do some research on myself. Take some time away from the world. Take some social media breaks. I'm actually on a social media break, if we being real about it. I only came back today because it is episode day, so I have to let my supporters and followers know. Keep It Real Makayla say episode 1 is being released and recorded. But take you some social media breaks. Take you some breaks. Get in how are some ways you spend time with yourself? That's another question I'm going to pose down in the comments, and you can respond. How are some ways you spend time with yourself for you to have that time with yourself to research on yourself, find some things about yourself. Be consistent with that, though. Be dedicated to finding out who you are, and be determined and being consistent of you finding out who you are. When we come down to it, let's talk to R, realization. When you realize your own identity, when you realize who you are, realizing that you're different, you're not gonna want to have the need to fit in with the world. You're not gonna have the need to try to change yourself for anybody, because you don't realize who you are, and you recognize game. So somebody who knows, for somebody who sees, I have to word that better. For somebody who sees that you're confident in yourself and you realize who you are, they're not going to want to challenge that. Because don't get me wrong, like I said earlier, not saying they're not going to come up with a strategy. They will. They will definitely come up with a strategy. This happened to me. When people started seeing me that, I was like, oh, what? I actually had one person tell me not too long ago, you must be really, really strong in yourself, because, I mean, you're just not like you're not like these other girls. I didn't know what to take it as a compliment or as an insult. I'm like, am I supposed to let people talk to me crazy? Am I supposed to let people mistreat me? But when like I said, I realized who I am. I realized who I am, and I realized whose I am, who I belong to. So when those two realizations come together, you cannot shake me. When it comes down to E, excuses. There are don't give yourself any excuses. Don't sit here and give yourself a pass on something that you know is not benefiting you. Don't do that. That's like you settling and accepting less. We not doing that. # we not doing that. Sky is the limit. Sky is the limit. Exemptions, no excuses. # no exemption, no excuses. What we doing, we pushing. We going after what's ours. We going after our self-esteem back. We're taking back we're taking back self-esteem. We're taking back our minds back. We're taking back our hearts back. We're taking back our feelings back. We're taking back everything that the devil has stole from us, and we're taking back everything men and society keep trying to take from us. We got to take that all back. So there is no excuses for why we should be letting people tell us who we are when we know who we are. There should be no exemptions when people are telling us and limiting us to expand our minds and for us to expand our way of thinking, for us to get more curious about ourselves. We should not let anybody tell us that. We should not let anyone or anything try to make us shrink or limit ourselves to what we can do and tell us what we can and cannot do. That's what we're not going to do. So when it comes down to that, don't water down who you are. Don't shrink yourself. What I mean by shrink is when you're comfortable in a situation, you shrink. You're not going to reach your full potential because you're comfortable. So you're in the mindset, why should I change? There's no need to change. Everything is working right now, but it's not working. It's temporarily working, but it's not what you need. What you need is to be in a place where you have to you can't be comfortable in a situation where you're not growing. Now it does happen. For me, brutally honest, I was in a very toxic situation where I was in a season where I was comfortable in a situation where I wasn't growing. I was more shrinking because I was doing the necessary changes, trying to fit in. I wasn't growing. And it did nothing but damage me. It left me with long damage that I had to go through, to get out of, to pray about, to constantly go back before God. Like, God, are you sure I'm this? Because such and such said this to me last week, and I don't know. She was hitting some stone points with me. I don't know, God. But if I would have just been who I really was, I wouldn't have had to have all this damage. Things happen for a reason. And I feel like everything for me was necessary. And we all have that point in our lives. We're still on no excuses, no exceptions. And we're talking about how don't water yourself down. But for me, I'm speaking about what it did for me. It may look different for you. It may look different for others. But I'm talking about what it did for me. I'm a hard-headed person. I had people telling me to stop, and I kept going. God, like I said, God had his way of reaching to you and talking to you. He had to take me rock bottom for me to understand what was really going on. It may look different for you, but for me, it took rock bottom for me. If I would have just listened to God sooner, if I would have just really just stopped sooner, I wouldn't have got that deep. But I feel like God made me I hit rock bottom because, number one, I was hard-headed, and I just didn't want to accept that. But once I did accept it and I did realize it, now going into the next situation, I don't have to make those same mistakes. I don't have to give myself those same excuses. I don't have to make no exceptions for anybody, because I was determined to find out who I was. I realized who I was and whose I belonged to. I stopped making excuses for myself, and I stopped making exceptions. I can do this, but except no exceptions. No excuses. This is who I am. Accept it or don't. Let's move on to action. But before I move into action, I want to leave you guys with another scripture, Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. You can do all things through him. You can become all things through him because he strengthens you to do these things. Let's go down to action. Make your dream plain, make your vision plain, and step out on faith. Go after it. You have to push yourself to hit your action. Once you got it, write it on paper. Get you a vision board. What's some things that have helped you make your dream become reality? For me, let me answer that question. I used to do YouTube before I started a podcast. And I never thought that I wanted to be in the entertainment industry because of, number one, society's way of entertainment. Number two, I just thought about like, no. But it's different when God laid it on my heart to do it. Because I realized at that particular time that I had a voice that still can be used. And I didn't really fully grasp it or take it seriously as I should have. And making that dream become reality, I was doing it, but my heart wasn't in it. And that's one thing I could say affected me with the journey, because yes, God was dealing with me about it, especially after I stopped. And one thing I recently did is I was praying in my meditation. I could just see it, how I made my dream become reality. I always thought like, yes, I want to do this, but I also realized I had a voice. I also started to realize, through God's help, of course, that he wanted to use me in a different way that I could reach others. And I was like, well, I don't know about YouTube. But then a podcast was laid up on my heart. And I did my research. And I took all the necessary timing and planning. And I put it together. And I was scared to do it. And that's one thing I still struggle with a little bit, with being scared, because you're on your own. And then you have other people's opinions. But we're not listening to other people's opinions anymore. I stepped out on faith, and now I'm here. Now I got my podcast up and running. It took a lot of work behind the scenes to get it together. But I made it plain. I took action. I stepped out on faith. That's why I was in the season. I see it as I was in a season of being comfortable. I didn't thought there was no need for me to do this. If I was still in the same environment I was in a few months ago, I never would have stepped up to the plate. I never would have took this action. I never would have elevated to the higher level that God was calling me to. I never would have took that call. I never would have elevated, because I would have had the need to, because I was comfortable. But that's why it's so important for us to get out of our comfort zones and get into a zone where we can hear from God, so that way he could push us to another level. Every time you're in a season, you're in a season for a season. You're not meant to be somewhere for a lifetime. I thought where I was, that was my life. That was my dream. I hit the mark. I have stepped out. I've got I was in my dream position, but God put me there for me to learn some things about myself and about him. And once that season is up, God said, okay, now I got something higher for you to do. I got somewhere else I want you to go. I got some work. This is what you're going to have to do for me here, and this is what you're going to learn here. I didn't want to hear that. I was like, but God, what? Let's keep it real. I was like, why do I gotta leave? Like, this is what's working for me. This is comfortable. Like, I've been here for a long time. I've gotten adapt to it. I've started to adjust to it. I became a product of my environment. But sometimes when you have for me, I'm a different type of person. So the type of person I am, the environment I was in, they took it for granted. They took my kindness for weakness. They played it against me. I was made out as to be the black sheep of the crew. And God was like, that's not where I want you to be. That's not where I have you. Like, you learned something here. We're moving on. I'm like, no. So I stayed. Like I said, I hit rock bottom. But the grace of God, he brought me through it, carried me through it. Now that I'm here. But when you make your dream plain, whatever you have that you want to make plain, wherever you want to start, whatever you want to do, make it plain. Write down who you are. Make it plain. Write that down. Make it plain. Make it simple. Step out on it and achieve it. We already know we can do all things through Christ that strengthen us. We already know this. Another one, scripture I want to leave you guys with, is Colossians 3:2. Set your affection on things above, not on the things on the earth. Think about things above the earth, things you can achieve that the earthly realm can't understand. That's another level of understanding. That's another level, a deeper level of dedication and commitment and being consistent. When I said my things, the dreams I have, let's be realistic. One of my dreams that I pray about daily is that I want to have my own homeless shelter. I see a lot of homeless people on the streets, and I come across a lot of different people that, society has thrown them away. And people don't think that they don't deserve a second chance. But I see it's that, everybody has a part when they hit rock bottom. They just don't know how to get back up to where they just don't know how to get back on their feet. And I just want to have that. But I see that as a thing of higher, because I'm thinking about just the homeless shelter, but what can I pour into them? We see people driving up down the world. You see these people on the side of the street, and some people, I've been around people that said, that could never be me. But never say never, because you never know what God may do. Especially if you think about yourself as the best thing that's ever came to earth. That's something you definitely don't want to have. You don't want to have a prideful mindset. You don't want to have that mindset. You want to have a humble mindset. But I think about what can I pour into them? The things I can do from my characters. What can I pour into them? How can I be a light unto them? That's one of my dreams. That's one of my goals and my higher affections. The love and desire I have to want to help people and to want to spread word for them and want to show them is just another level that it's hard to put into words, the feelings that I have about it. But when you think of things higher, above, you don't want to just achieve fame and popularity and money and cars and this and that. You don't want to just achieve it. You want my eternal end goal is whatever I do on this earth only matters in the eyesight of God. That's how I see it. Whatever I do on this earth, whatever I put in, whatever time I do, how many people God puts in my life for me to talk to, whatever I do, I just wanted to, when I get on that side, it all was worth it. That's my goal. But what are your goals? What are some things that you think about that you don't want to just achieve on earth? Things I want to do. I want to expand. I want to go outside the country and do some things too. Because I don't want to limit myself to the things I could just do in the state. I'm thinking about what can I do in other states. Those are some of my goals. But what are some of yours? I'll put that question down in the comments so you guys will be able to respond to it. Now that we talked about we taking action, we made our dream plan, and what are we doing the steps to take it and step it out on our comfort zones, let's talk about the last thing. M, motivation. Your motivation is just going to come after you took action. Because when you start beginning taking that action, you're going to become motivated and motivated and motivated and motivated. Like for me, now that I got my podcast, I'm motivated to get on here and post and talk to y'all and see your viewpoints, see your comments, see you guys share and like. That motivates me. But my true motivation is seeing someone benefit from it. That's where my motivation comes from. Is if I could just touch, if what I do touches one person, that's my motivation. That's my motivation. But what's your motivation? And one thing I can say is don't look to somebody else for your motivation and inspiration. Don't do that. You have to speak to yourself and you have to inspire yourself. One thing about me, I can sit here, I'm like, well, I'm waiting for that inspiration like to come on. I'm waiting for, you know what, I saw such and such. You know what, now I'm going to do like such and such, because your motivation is not your true motivation. Once you take action, this is such and such dream. Now we're going to say such and such. Let's just say somebody I used to look up to. I used to look up to this, one of these other girls. She was from the Bad Girls Club. I used to look up to her all the time. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do that just because she doing it. But her dreams wasn't my dreams, and her goals were not my goals. Her end goal was not my end goal. So I was just like, this is when I was real young. And I had all these different people I looked up to. But her, I looked up to her. She was like the biggest person. I was like, you know what? She's the baddest girl on the planet. I'm going to be just like that. I'm going to be ruthless just like that. But her inspiration, after a while, I couldn't keep looking up to her because we wasn't trying to achieve the same things. So stop letting other people's inspiration be your inspiration. Inspire yourself. Get in the mirror. Speak some affirmations over yourself. Talk to yourself. Tell yourself about your dream. So you know what? My dream is going to come true. You know why? Because I know I took action. I know God is going to, I can do all things through Christ that strengthen me. And he's going to strengthen me to achieve my dream. Speak to yourself. Speak over yourself. Speak over your dreams. Speak over your goals. Speak over it to yourself. Break down your old ways of thinking and develop a new way of thinking. Another way for us to think, like I said, it goes back to Colossians 3:2. Set your things above. Set your affection on things above, not the things of the earth. So your motivation comes after you take action. And once you motivated, it's like a car that won't start. You keep cranking it and just do the but when it kick on, it's ready to go. You keep cranking yourself. Turn yourself fully on and get yourself geared up and take off. Take off going. Achieve greatness. Motivation comes after your action. You took an action now. Now that you got your dream, make it plain. Now let's go about it. And plan out. This is actually what I did. I took my dreams and all my goals and I put it on paper. And after every little dream, I put little dashes and I put, what steps do I need to take to make this reality? And be real. Write down every little thing you feel like you could do research about it, and then see the end results, and then picture that end result being your end result. That's gonna motivate you. Write down everything. Write down what steps you need to take. Research and envision your end goal. Envision how your dream is gonna become reality, and think about how it's going to benefit others, because we all have dreams and goals that we want to do for different reasons. But see the end result. just picture how the beauty of it after you done all the crying and all the thing, how all this hard work is gonna pay off. That's gonna inspire you to just keep going. You gonna get there. The closer you get, the higher you get, the more happier you gonna get after you took in your action. Action becomes that's the tool, that's the key in the ignition. Motivation is you driving it through. Your motivation's gonna come after you take action. All right, guys. Now we're at the end of the show. So closing. Knowing something. One thing I want to let you guys know, and we're gonna get real. I'm gonna speak on myself in my closing. Knowing my worth, how it's come to help me, has actually made my life better. Because I'm able to, number one, recognize when somebody is not really for me because they want me to change. Another thing I said in my YouTube, be you, don't let nobody else change you. If somebody want to change you, then they're not for you. Because if somebody's really for you, they're not going to want to change you. That's number one. Number two, me knowing who I am has made me a stronger individual to equip me to know that I can go through the necessary seasons and not the necessary seasons, but just the seasons when I have to be pruned and have to go through the times where I'm alone. I had a very lonely season, not lonely season, but a season where I was just alone. No friends, not really that many I had in my corner. I have family, but it's different when you don't have that many friends to go out and hang out because I went from having a bunch of people always out, going out somewhere, to now in the house every day on the weekends. In the house, no, but not out, stepping out like I used to. And during that lone season I had, that's when I learned about myself the most. And there's nothing wrong with having to be in the season by yourself. There's nothing wrong with that. Because being in the season by yourself, that's the best time, because you find out. So I found out so many things about myself that I didn't even know, qualities I didn't even know I had. And that was a beautiful thing for me, because I realized just how different and uniquely different that I am. Like, I'm not like everybody else. And that's okay. That's okay. And then when I was in my season of being alone, I went out, I took myself out on dates. I treat yourself. You just spend time with yourself, because you're treating yourself how you expect somebody else to treat you. That God's gonna place in your life. You have friends that you want. You don't want your friends. I buy my friends things. I don't know about you guys, but I buy my friends stuff sometimes. But you're just treating yourself how you will want to be treated. You're treating yourself with love, honesty, and respect and care. Another thing about me, how knowing my worth became beneficial for me, is that knowing my worth, this is a real truth. I don't let men play with me the way, I don't. That's a whole nother conversation. But if we being real right now, I do not let these men play games with me the way I used to let them play games with me. I do not let that happen. Absolutely not. I give them literally 60. I'm being more gracious. I used to do 30 days, and I've given them 60 days. I said, I give you 60 days to figure out what you want to do. Like 60 days, like, because if I see too many stuff that ain't adding up, you gotta go. Not settling. Hashtag, like I said, we're not settling. But another thing is, like, that's also been beneficial for me by me knowing my worth. I'm able to recognize when someone's trying to offer me something that I know is not going to benefit me fully. But another thing that I feel like tops all my points is that me knowing my worth and me understanding my worth has actually helped me in my relationship with God. It's actually helped me understand things a little bit more when it comes down to why he took me through different things. And I see it as, if I never would have went through this, then I never would have discovered this about myself. Some things I can say about myself is that I'm a very dependable person. I'm a very trustworthy person. I'm a very loyal person, and I never understood that about myself. If I never would have went through the trials, if I never would have went through the seasons that God took me through, I never would have realized some of the qualities I had unless God would have took me through in it.
And it became real when you got through it, and you can look back and see how loyal you remained, how dependable you remained, how you maintained your this and that. The qualities for me, how I maintained being loyal through it, being constantly being mistreated, constantly being lied on, constantly being put down, how loyal I still remained. I never knew that I could be that loyal until the end. Never knew that unless God would have took me through it. And it became real after I saw it and I made it through it. That what's really has helped me with me coming into knowing my worth. It's helped me understand why I went through some things and how I became about to learn about myself and how God was able to show me who I was. That's how knowing my worth has helped me. But it, like I mentioned earlier, this does take time. You're not going to learn yourself overnight. Because if that case, man, all this other stuff I would have went through, I was like, man, boop, boop, done. Learn myself, and now on the road now. But everything happens with time. Every season in your life, treat it as a lesson. See it as, what am I going to learn about myself in this season? What am I going to come out knowing about myself in this season? See every season as an opportunity for you to learn and grow. That's the way I see my seasons. Stuff that I go through. I'm like, okay, I'm going through this, but what I'm just thinking, what can I learn about myself in this season? I'm currently going through a season right now, and I'm thinking, what can I learn about myself going through this? What can I learn about this? Every season in your life is a lesson. See it as, what can you learn? What can you take? What can you learn? And how can you use it? And every time you see it, you just keep going that route, you'll know yourself more and more. But the one things I want us to understand when it comes down to knowing ourselves, we have to be comfortable in who we are. We have to elevate our mind. We have to dream. We have to be dedicated. We have to realize we can't give ourselves any excuses or exceptions. We have to make our dreams action. We have to make an action. We have to take action after ourselves. And we have to motivate ourselves. We have to do all these things. If you continuously do them, I just pray that God does for you what he's already have done for me and is continually doing for me. This is something that I pray all women experience. Just really finding out who you are and knowing who you are. It just helps you in so many ways. It's helped me in so many different ways that sometimes I find I have hard times trying to put it into words, into content. But it's just helped me in so many ways. I see things differently. I look at things differently. And I pay attention to certain things. Because it all comes about of the understanding of who you are and who I became to be. Everything has a starting point and an end point. Sometimes with me, my season saw, I was like, well, Lord, is this really the end? Is this really like, this is just how I'm going to be? Is this just really, are you sure this is how I am? But one thing I just thank him for is that he begun a good work in me, and he's going to finish it. And I'm not completed yet. And neither are we. We're not completed yet. There's still some things we can learn about ourselves. But knowing your worth, knowing and understanding who you are is the thing that we all need to find out and be strong in. Because when you know who you are, none of this stuff is not going to affect you or bother you. And that's something I wish you all can experience. And I pray that you guys do have that experience. With that, this concludes the end of the episode 1. Just keep it real. Knowing your worth, episode 1. I want to thank you guys for listening. I want to thank some of the people behind the scenes who have supported me coming into this. I want to thank you guys for that. I just thank you. Let's share this video. Let's spread this to other people. And remember, just be the real you. Hashtag we are the real ones. Hashtag it's the real one TV. And hashtag we keep it real over here. This video is going to be posted today. I'm actually going to post this video on YouTube. The YouTube is at it's the real one TV. That video will be posted on later on tonight. But always, guys, remember, just be the real you. And I thank you guys for listening. And I'll see you guys season 1, episode 2. Title is soon to come.